And don't you think it's a crime when time after time after time, people in the bottom, there's people living in the bottom. Listen to me. See that sister, show was fine.
Hey, folks. How you doing out there? How you doing out there, America? It's Charles Butler. This is Reality Check. How you doing? Hope everything's well. Hope you're getting ready for this Labor Day weekend, celebrating the labor. The labor. We celebrate Veterans Day. We celebrate Memorial Day, where we honor our dead. We celebrate the 4th of July, the Day of Independence. And then we celebrate Labor Day. Never really thought a lot about Labor Day and what it really meant. But when you start to get into Labor Day and what it means and why it's a national holiday, it's a little interesting. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Labor Day and what it means to you and me. The meaning of Labor Day. And why is it in September? And, you know, this is I always remember Labor Day being the real serious break when summer was over and school was starting. Oh, my God. The summer is over. School is starting. We had to go get clothes, and new pencils and pads. And we had to get new backpacks and all kinds of crap. I hated that. I was a strange kid, huh? I really hated that stuff. So I hated that my dad had to spend all that money on this stuff that would be old in a couple of months. So anyway, that's what would happen. September would come along, we'd go out and we'd barbecue, and Dad would barbecue the hell out of some meat. I think, it only really takes, the barbecue meat, when you're doing it direct heat. You're probably going to keep that on there, maybe an hour and a half at most. You get the coals down. But, man, these guys, they'd be out there all day with that meat. Anyway, it was created. Labor Day was created by the labor movement in the late 19th century. It became a federal holiday in 1894. So the question becomes, why do we celebrate Labor Day? Well, I'm going to tell you why you celebrate Labor Day for those of you who've never taken the time to find out. Labor Day was moved from, I think it always came on the 1st or the 2nd of September. They moved it officially to the first Monday of September. And this was back in the 70s they did that. And it is dedicated to the social and economic achievements of the American worker. Constitutes a yearly national tribute to the contributions workers have made to the strength and prosperity and well-being of our country, i.e. the economy. How about that? Now, the Department of Labor puts out a piece that's interesting, but I'm going to deflect right now to the History Channel. Hold on. Up. Okay, here we go. Now, the American Railroad Union was led by a guy named Eugene Debs. He called for a boycott of all Pullman railroad cars, right? So it was really interesting that there was a deadly railroad strike that led to the creation of Labor Day, the holiday Labor Day. People go, why is that? Well, Monday is going to be the day. How about that? Okay. Why do we celebrate Labor Day? An annual celebration of workers and their achievements originated during one of America's labor history's most dismal chapters. See, the late 1800s was really the height of the American Industrial Revolution. And the average American worker work 12-hour days, 7 days a week, in order to eke out just a basic living. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when do you go to church? When do you go to your kid's school? When do you vote? So despite restrictions in some states, children as young as 5 and 6 toiled in mills, factories, mines across the country, earning a fraction of their adult counterparts' wages. People of all ages, particularly the very poor and recent migrants, often face extremely unsafe working conditions and insufficient
Labor
access.
Day isn't just about eating hot dogs and bidding
Yeah, it
farewell to
is.
summer. It has its roots in, well, labor. Here he explains Labor Day.
Wow. I didn't do that. The History Channel did. Oops. So we're going to kill that sound. Got it. So
Pullman, Illinois, a company town, was home to employees of the Pullman Railroad Sleeping Car Company. But in the summer of 1894, their union organized a strike, demanding higher pay.
Okay, had to cut that off, man. It was killing me. You know, these guys just took over my my computer. But anyway, that's the labor union, the railroad union, is what led to the creation of Labor Day. And it was deadly. You know, some people lost their lives. It was brutal. It was not pretty. It's not pretty at all. In fact, when you really read the history of Labor Day and you see when we start talking about capitalism versus communism versus socialism, you see that these things really meant something at some point in our growth and in our history. They were real issues to be dealt with by our citizens who had to decide which way do we go? Capitalism, socialism, communism. Which ism is going to allow us to achieve life, liberty, and happiness? Well, the closest thing was capitalism. Okay. And it's interesting that Canada's Labor Day is celebrated on the same day as ours. How about that? It's great. And but the origin came from the late 1800s and old Eugene Debs. Eugene Debs. Interesting guy. So the reality is the Knights of Labor convened a meeting in New York City in 1882. And these knights were all, it was a clandestine group. And they had a public parade of various labor organizations on September 5th under the auspices of what they called the Central Labor Union of New York. And the secretary of that group was a guy named Matthew McGuire, and he's credited for proposing a National Labor Day. Subsequently, that it be held on the first Monday of each September, and in the aftermath of this successful public demonstration. Wow, it's amazing. As an alternative, thesis maintains that the idea of Labor Day was the brainchild of Peter McGuire. Sure it was. He was a vice president of the AFL, and the AFL-CIO is still around, American Federation of Labor, and CIO is something international organization. I can't remember what CIO means, but AFL-CIO is still around. Amazing. So there's an ancient European folk holiday. It's called May Day, and it emerged as an alternative holiday to the celebration of labor, later becoming known as International Workers' Day. Okay. The date had its origins in 1885 at a convention of the AFL, which passed a resolution calling for the adoption of the 8-hour day, workday, which was to be in effect May 1st of 1886. While negotiation was envisioned for the achievement of the shortened workday. Use of the strike to enforce this demand was recognized, with May 1st advocated as a date for coordinated strike action. And it got bloody. That's when we had the Haymarket affair in, I think it was May 4th of 1886. Yeah. And that was bad. That was bad, the Haymarket affair. And it took place here in Chicago at Haymarket Square. And it began as a peaceful rally in support of workers striking for an 8-hour workday. But that day, the police killed one and injured several workers. An unknown person threw a dynamite bomb at the police as they acted to disperse the meeting. And the bomb blast and the ensuing gunfire resulted in the deaths of 7 police officers and at least 4 civilians, and dozens of others were wounded. This was violent, man. These guys were not playing around. So, the anarchists, there were 8 anarchists, they were convicted of conspiracy. And the evidence was that one of the defendants built the bomb, but none of the others had thrown it. That was interesting. And the governor, Altgeld, pardoned the remaining defendants and criticized the trial as a kangaroo court. Wow. Committed suicide. Wow. This was interesting. I mean, the history of Labor Day is fascinating. I always tell folks, you should do your homework. Learn about history, learn why things are being done, learn why we have this holiday. Oh, you know what? I need to open the telephone lines. I forgot all about that. Let me do that right now. Okay. See if anyone's calling in. Let's see. And the thing about call-ins is really cool because, you'll hear radio guys go, hey, call in 215-867-8255. But then you get off topic because, we prepare a show. We do a show. We prepare a show. And the guest doesn't know what we prepared. So, they're not talking about what we came prepared to talk about a lot of times. And you have to kind of, guide the conversation if you want to get on topic with what you're talking about. One of the things we're going to talk about today is Donald Trump and the accusation that he called service members losers. Now, I don't believe that lie. I just don't believe it. I mean, to me, it's just too far-fetched. But then again, I mean, who cares? I mean, here's a guy who has put his money where his mouth is. He's made sure that the military had gear, had bullets. Whatever the military want, he's gotten it for them. So, I mean, what else do they want? But it's these liberals like Joe Biden and Barack Obama who gutted the military, who had people scrambling around for spare parts, who try to talk trash. It's amazing. Trump losers. I mean, that's the big thing today. Trump losers. That's what he's called, the military losers. Oh my God, he didn't go to the and this is old news, by the way. And this magazine article says that Trump says soldiers injured or killed in war are losers. They're trying to drum up the old McCain issue. The issue is this: John McCain was a dumb son of a bitch. John McCain graduated 4th from the bottom of his class. He was trying to be the GOAT. The GOAT in the class gets money. Donations. He gets all this money because he's the last in the class. He's the GOAT. That's what they call him, the GOAT. The mascot for the Navy is a GOAT. So, the guy who is the lowest in the class is what? The GOAT. So McCain was trying to be the GOAT. Now you have to understand, John McCain's grandfather was an admiral. His daddy was an admiral. John became an aviator. And when John was flying, his plane set off one of the worst naval disasters in the history of the Navy. The fire aboard the forestall. We used to call the forestall the forespot fire. John McCain's plane was involved in that incident. It ignited the fires that killed a lot of people, destroyed a lot of property. It was a bad fire. Look it up. Fire aboard USS Forstall, which of course I carrier qualled on back in the 70s. I did a carrier qual on Forstall. Fast forward. As a POW, and John, by the way, these A4 squadrons were like kamikazes. They'd start out with 20 pilots, and by the end of the tour, they'd have 4 of the original 20. I mean, that's how many were dying. So John McCain was one of the last of his original squadron that had gone over to Vietnam that hadn't been shot down or killed. And so he got shot down too, taken a prisoner. And I'll give him credit. He didn't come home early, and he didn't conspire with the enemies. However, I do believe that John McCain was brainwashed when he was in captivity. I've always called John McCain the Manchurian candidate. He's the perfect candidate for the Manchurian scenario. And think about it. Every time, all of his critical votes were what? They were always against what the American people wanted. We wanted to end Obamacare. McCain had the vote to do it. He went the other way. His famous, I wish that Trump had given him, when they asked President Trump, will you give us the resources to bury John McCain? But he didn't. He capitulated. He gave John McCain's family everything they wanted. And they still dogged him. So what is it with people? You can't win for losing, okay? So the president, he comes out and he addresses this issue. And people still don't want to, accept the fact that he denies that he disparaged these folks. And, Charles being Charles, I have to believe the president. I'm sorry. And, they talk about how much he lies. Trump, what's his name? Obama, every time he moved his lips, he was lying. Then you have the folks who are always trying to get back, like the John Kellys of the world, Oof, Lord. Anyway, it's interesting. I want to play a little clip that the president is supposed to be defending himself. And I'm going to, let's see, report. Okay, the Hill. Trump's called war dead. Biden. Well, let's listen to what Biden has to say first. See if that throws anything our way, if we get anything for this. Let's see here. I'm looking for these clips as we're talking. No, they're not coming to get me. No, they're not coming to get me. Here we go. Okay. Okay, we'll be ready in a sec here. He's heard that build up.
Cemetery just outside Paris in 2018, President Trump called the U.S. service members who were buried there during World War I losers, sources told The Atlantic. At the time, Trump was expected to arrive at the cemetery, but he canceled last minute, stating that due to the rain, the helicopter could not fly to the location, noting that the Secret Service could not drive him. However, according to 4 sources with knowledge of the incident, Trump was reluctant to travel to the cemetery because he was concerned that the rain would dishevel his hair, The Atlantic reported.
Well, it would, 1. And 2, it's dangerous. What do these people get? This president's always under danger. And when you decide to deviate from the plan to chop her out versus to take a car out or take a motorcade out, puts a whole bunch of stress on the people who are involved, because you have to check out the route. You know, what if a terrorist is out there with an RPG or a Stinger missile? Can the what do they call that car that he drives in? I can't remember what they call it. But can his vehicle handle that kind of explosion? Supposedly it can, but who wants to chance it? Right? Right. That's what I would say. The Biden ad trashes Trump over his comments about service members. Let's hear this. Let's hear this real quick. If we can pull it up. Hold on, if we can pull it up. Da, da, da. Let's see if we can pull it up. Or maybe we can't. Let's see. If you don't respect Joe Biden, let's see what he's got here. If he's got any audio, that's what I want to hear. Because, you know, I can tell you what he said, but I always like to hear these guys, you know, firsthand, so I can say, you know, this is what the guy said. Okay. Okay. Realize his campaign. Yeah, Biden's campaign is dying. Unfortunately, it's dying on the vine, and he knows it. That's the thing about it. Yeah, I mean, you watch your lead slowly fade away. Here's a guy who's supposed to just trounce Trump. You know, he gets Obama's endorsement. He tells black folks, if you don't vote for me, then you're not black. And everybody's just supposed to run and give them his vote. Okay. Not happening. Trump says no need to apologize because he didn't say those things. Interesting. So we'll see if the president apologizes. But if he didn't say those things, then guess what? He didn't need to apologize. Here we go.
Written by a magazine that was probably not going to be around much longer, but it was a totally fake story. And that was confirmed by many people who were actually there. It was a terrible thing that somebody could say the kind of things, and especially to me, because I've done more for the military than almost anybody else. You look at how the VA is doing, it's doing incredibly well. We got all sorts of things done, from accountability to veterans' choice to everything. And it's got right now, no, it was a fake story written by a magazine that was probably not going to be around much longer, but it was a totally fake story. And that was confirmed by many people who were actually there. It was a terrible thing that somebody could say the kind of things, and especially to me, because I've done more for the military than almost anybody else. You look at how the VA is doing, it's doing incredibly well. We got all sorts of things done, from accountability to veterans' choice to everything. And it's got right now the highest approval rating that it's ever had, 91.
Now, this clip that I just played to you, I'm not finished with it yet. It's got a couple more seconds. But this clip is on the Hill. It's on the website. Now, you see how these little punks, how these little wimps, how, you know, he said, well, choice was done under Obama. You caught that, right? How unprofessional. Do they really think that they're going to steal this election? You're not going to steal this election, you little twerps. And if you do, we're going to smack you down. We're going to beat you up, yes, and you're going to taste your blood when we punch you in the nose. It's not going to be blood from a video game. It's going to be yours. I say, people, get ready. Don't need no ticket. You just get on board. Yeah, it's one of those things. And folks are tired. People are tired. I mean, can you? I've never heard anything like this before. A comment snuck in like this in a Hill video. Listen.
Now, the highest approval rating that it's ever had, to Veterans Choice, to everything. And it's got right now, and it's got right.
Choice was not done under President Obama. It was passed. Obama wouldn't fund the VA. He wouldn't fund the military. He was a true foobar. And if you look up the definition, it's exactly what I mean. I tell him that to his face. He's despicable. He's undeserving of being in that office. I tell you. So, hello. There we go. I've never heard anything like that before. Now, Biden comes out with a new poll, right? And this new poll is supposed to predict this new poll is supposed to predict Biden winning or who's going to win. So Joe, old Uncle Joe, steps up and he tries to chime in. Listen.
One of the first major national polls released after the Republican National Convention shows former Vice President Joe Biden with an almost double-digit lead over President Trump. The survey, conducted by veteran pollster Ann Seltzer for Grinnell College, finds Biden leading 49% to 41% on the strength of a huge advantage among women voters, suburbs, and...
Well, I bet if you look at Grinnell's numbers, they were the same as last time. He was wrong then. He's going to be wrong now, because at the end of the day, nobody gives a shit what he asked or what he wants to know. How about that?
Americans with a college degree. The Democratic nominee leads among women by a 56% to 34% margin, a wider gender gap than former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton received in 2016, and larger even than the 19-point advantage House Democratic candidates earned.
Wow. This furor is growing over supposedly what President Trump said about the fake story. And Trump's very clear. I'm not going to apologize over a fake story. I'm not going to do it. So the Atlantic said that the president called these people losers. If what is written in the Atlantic is true, it's disgusting, said Biden. It affirms what most of us believe to be true, that Donald Trump is not fit to be the commander. Neither are you, Joe. You're not fit to be the commander in chief. You're quid pro quo with the Ukrainian president. And then you try to tell us that we're stupid if we believe that you did quid pro quo. You did. You said, if you don't pull these prosecutors from investigating my son and his company, I'm going to pull that guaranteed loan of $1 billion to you. And when the guy said, well, you can't do that, the president, he said, call Obama, call Barack. That's what he said. Call Barack. I should pull that up. Biden's quid pro quo. I know I don't have it on this system. Quid pro, and then so the Pelosi said that Americans were too dumb to understand what quid pro quo meant. So, oh God. She said they were too stupid to understand what quid pro quo meant. So they needed to say that what he did was illegal. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. But let's play this and see what you think. This is Freedom Friday. I'm just jumping around.
I'm asking you to make a donation right now before the official FEC
I'm not going to do it, Schumer.
I'm not going to
do it, Schumer. Not doing it. How about that? So quit calling me. Quit calling me, Chuck. It's over, baby. I'm not going to vote for you. I'm not giving you any money. Now, this is Biden on Ukraine. Listen to this.
I just want to put one other issue on the floor before I get another question or two, which is Ukraine. this administration, unlike the administration you worked in, decided to provide limited defense articles to Ukraine. Do you think that was a wise decision? And more broadly, do you see any scope for any sort of a deal on eastern Ukraine?
The answer is yes, I think it was a wise decision. But then again, I was pushing that for 2 years before we left. So, and the reason is I think the more you up the ante, the cost to Russia for their aggression. I mean, as you all know, and you know this better than anybody, the one big lie going on about Ukraine back in the rest of Russia is that no Russian soldiers are engaged. They're not dying. No body bags are coming home, et cetera, because there's overwhelming opposition on the part of the body politic in Russia for engagement in Ukraine in a military sense. Do I think I think the Donbass has potential to be able to be solved, but it takes two things. One of those things is missing now, and that is I'm desperately concerned about the backsliding on the part of Kyiv in terms of corruption. They made, I'll give you one concrete example. I was, not but it just happened to be that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said, I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was 6 hours. I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. You got fired. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. You got fired. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. You got fired. Oh, son of a bitch. Oh, son of a bitch.
Wow. That's what he said. I didn't say this. I'm just playing. What happened? Joe told on himself. I didn't tell on Joe. I mean, so who's unfit? Who do you think would be unfit to be in office? I think Joe Biden's unfit to be in office, to tell you the truth. Much more so than what's his name? Shoot. Come on, Butler. Trump. That's it. Devin Nunes. Okay. So, Devin Nunes, he admitted everything that Trump is accused of. They're still talking about Nancy Pelosi and her hair wash. I love it. You cannot make this stuff up. That's more important than the people being killed in Portland, the people being killed in Seattle, the people being killed in Kenosha. We're talking about Nancy Pelosi and her hair. Wow. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Wow. So Biden claims a black man invented light bulb at a campaign event. Well, that's not true. It's partially true. A black man, his name is Lewis Latimer. He created the tungsten filament for the light bulb. And the tungsten filament allowed Edison to create the first commercially viable light bulb. It was made of tungsten instead of copper. which burn out quickly. That's the truth. So, so when you say, well, a black man created the light bulb, no, it's not quite right. But he did create the tungsten filament. So let's play this because it's true. I mean, Lewis Latimer was a hell of an inventor. Thomas Edison had a lot of inventors who worked for him, and he put his name on their inventions and their patents out of Hyde Park. True story. So we don't know really what Edison invented, what he didn't, because he put his name on everything. These guys were kind of, I don't know, it's like Hewlett Packard. I have a friend who has, 15, 20 patents, but Hewlett Packard holds them all. He doesn't hold one. Amazing. But, that's the way it used to be.
60 days until the election, the former vice president will talk about the economy today in Delaware. Yesterday, he was in Wisconsin where he met with the family of police shooting victim Jacob Blake and spoke with Blake himself.
Had an opportunity to spend some time with Jacob on the phone. He talked about how nothing was going to defeat him, how whether he walked again or not, he was not going to give up.
We have Fox team coverage for you this morning. Mark Meredith in North Carolina with the Trump campaign. But first to Griff Jenkins in Joe Biden's hometown of Wilmington, Delaware this morning. So, Griff, what do we expect him to say today?
Well, Sandra, at 12:15, in just over 2 hours, we expect him to make the case that the economic crisis has been made worse by President Trump's failure to get the coronavirus under control. This, of course, after the jobs report for August shows 1.4 million jobs were added. Now, yesterday in Kenosha, Biden was hammering the president.
There's a lot of folks who thought that, well, the president's made great strides with his law and order strides here. That boy, after his convention, he really made inroads. He hasn't. Not at all. No, I'm not serious. I mean, it should give you a little bit of confidence in the American people.
And the president hammered back from the Keystone State, obviously, last night. Today, he's praising those jobs numbers, tweeting this. Great jobs numbers, 1.37 million jobs added in August. Unemployment rate falls to 8.4%. Wow, much better than I expected. Broke the 10% level faster and deeper than thought possible. Now, when you look at the battleground state of PA, it's very interesting. Trump won that by 45,000 votes. And now in this new Quinnipiac University poll, you see Biden up 8 points, 52 to 44. But dig into the data on the issues. Biden leads by the same number on the handling of a crisis, but it flips when you get to the economy. Trump leads by 7, 52 to 45. Sandra?
Griff, Biden made another gaffe in Kenosha.
He did. He made a joke when he was talking, joking about talking too much about raising taxes on the wealthy, and he used a phrase that may have failed to read the room. Watch.
19 corporations making $1 billion apiece don't pay a single penny in taxes. I'm not going to punish anybody, but everybody should pay a fair share. I can lay out for you. I won't now because they'll shoot me.
He was speaking at the Grace Lutheran Church. Obviously, they are emotionally still dealing with the Jacob Blake shooting, but he did do something President Trump didn't do. He met with Jacob Blake's family and spoke to him. Sandra?
All right, more on all of that coming up. Griff Jenkins, thank you.
But Griff, what you didn't say and what you should have said was that the family did not want to meet with Donald Trump unless the lawyer was there. And Trump said, no, I'm not going to do that. I just want to say hello to this young man. And at the end of the day, let me be clear. At the end of the day, I think that Blake Jacobs probably should have been shot a lot sooner than he was. When you look at the timeline, when you look at the incidents, when you look at how he confronted the police officers, when you look at the fact that he fought with the cops, when you look at the fact that he was tasered twice, none of this had any effect on him. So why? Was he high on drugs? Why wouldn't he stop, put his hands in the air, and be taken into custody or be detained and talk to the police? He'd already raped this woman, she claimed. She had a police report. She had sworn out a warrant on this guy. Okay? And they're trying to hold this guy like he's a rapist. He's a criminal. Why are we rallying around black criminals? So the cop shot him 7 times in the back. Hey, if he was serious about killing him, he should have shot him in the back of the head. So, everybody wants to pity party these damn criminals after they've criminalized, brutalized, raped, pillaged, killed people. To hell with these white people. To hell with these dumb Negroes. And no one could be dumber than the folks who follow these black preachers. They're pathetic. When you talk about stupidity, there's stupidity on steroids, whether it's Al Sharpton, who's never been ordained. He was ordained at 10 years old. Show me a 10-year-old who can understand a calculus book. I'll show you a genius. Show me a 10-year-old who can decipher the scriptures. They can't. They can only repeat what they've been told. They don't have the reasoning. They don't have the logic at that point in their lives, period. So, you go, Reverend Jackson, made a whole bunch of money, poverty pimping. That's all. Poverty pimp. Oh, man. So, no biggie. Some people are texting me talking about that Trump's being hammered. I'm like, hey, no base rallying, no biggie. Okay. So this guy, wow. This guy's pathetic, man. He walked away from the police. He gets shot 7 times in the back. And everybody wants to blame the cop for trying to get this guy off the street. Oh, man. Private security hired by Seattle Park District, they retreated the first night that they were assigned to have some law and order. They retreated. They took it off, man. They took off.
My husband had 3 children outside this.
The bottom line
I've
is
decided to give each of you.
That was this new story. This new what do you call it? This new show that's coming on Fox with I forget that lady's name. She played on Sex and the City. Anyway, people are brainwashed. Critical thinking, or they don't understand history, or knowledge of history. If they did, then they would know. They would know better, but they don't. So simple. Do your homework. Yep, that's what I'm telling this person. Do your homework, and then come talk to me. Other than that, it's just an opinion.
Every adventure is better in a Hyundai with America's best warranty. That's better than Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. Now get 0% APR for 72 months on the 2020 Santa Fe or Tucson and make no payments for.
A Kentucky Democrat setting her sights on the Senate seat held by Mitch McConnell, facing an uphill battle. The latest poll shows McConnell 5 percentage points ahead of Amy McGrath, a former Marine fighter pilot and a mother of 3. Amy McGrath joins us now via Skype. Good morning to you. Thanks for being here. So what does a former Marine fighter pilot, a mother of 3, and a Democrat see as the most important issues in this election?
Well, I think the most important issue in this election is taking care of everyday Kentuckians, working Kentuckians. And that's why my fellow Kentuckians are saying enough is enough. You know, they are tired of a man who has been in Washington 36 years, who epitomizes everything that is wrong. The Washington swamp, you know, he built it. And here in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic in which 1 million Kentuckians have filed for unemployment sometime in the last 3 or 4 months, we have 300,000 Kentuckians that don't have health care right now. And where is he at? In the middle of this national crisis. He's on vacation.
Okay, so let's make this about how you're trying to win this race. I asked you what the most important issues are. What are you promising voters?
Well, hey, you know what Kentucky needs? We need good quality jobs here. We need investment in education, investment in 21st century infrastructure. So that's what I want to go to Washington to do. In addition, we've got to tackle healthcare in this country. Mitch McConnell has tried to throw people off their healthcare, 250,000 Kentuckians 19 times. And so I talk to my fellow Kentuckians every day about this. Those are the most important issues. And here we are in a national crisis. Again, it's about leadership. Where is he at?
Okay. I'm giving you a shot at giving me the solutions, how you make those jobs, how you improve healthcare. I haven't heard that yet. I'll put this up on the screen. Is your opinion of Amy McGrath favorable, unfavorable, or haven't you heard enough? Those that responded said favorable 32%, a larger percent, unfavorable 42%. Those that have not heard enough, 25%. This is the opportunity for those who have not heard from you. What are you saying you can do? How do you improve, for example, the economic situation for people in your state?
Well, the first thing we need to do right now is get immediate aid from Washington, D.C. to help people, to make sure that we don't lose more jobs. And then we have to invest in 21st century broadband, rural America. No business is going to want to come to a county in Kentucky that cannot talk to the modern world. And one of the biggest differences between myself and Mitch McConnell, let's just get our government working again. You know what? I'm a United States Marine. I never looked at the Marine on my left or the Marine on my right and said, are you a Democrat or Republican? I said, what's the mission? We've got to get people in Washington that have been there 36 years out because they're only about their own power and partisanship. And that is totally Mitch McConnell. I'm a Democrat. You know what? My husband's a lifelong Republican. And for us, it's about America first. We are Americans first. We got to get leaders again in this country. And that's why I'm running.
Wow. That's a lot. And, you know, hey, Mitch is Mitch. Mitch has done okay. I'm not a Mitch McConnell fan. But, you know, hey, Mitch is Mitch. All I can say is Mitch is Mitch.